Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host Sean McGahee, and this is a show we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. Today we are talking Voltron Legendary Defender. That's right, Season 3 of this series premiered on Netflix on Friday. All 7 episodes of it, that is. First 2 seasons, you had 13 episodes each. With this one, you only get 7, but as they teased, you don't have to wait long for Season 4 because it's coming out in October. So a little shorter this season, but we only have to wait a couple months for Season 4. What I'm going to do on this podcast, I'm going to go through episode, kind of my thoughts on each episode, what I, figured could have happened, what I felt happened, did I like it, did I not like it, kind of just, again, breaking down each episode and going through that. So beforehand, I always like to start off a little bit of background. The original series, Voltron Defender of the Universe, loved it as a kid, fan of it. Not a big fan, but I have the toys. I watched the series. I always enjoyed it. And this new modern take of Voltron, I think, is great. They're telling more deeper stories. They kind of fleshed out the characters better than they did in the original series. And overall, just great what they're doing with it. I'm enjoying it. If you haven't started watching this series, obviously, there's no reason for you to listen to me as I talk about Season 3, but go back, rewatch Season 1, then rewatch Season 2, listen to my review of Season 2, watch Season 3, and then come back and listen to this one, guys. So, starting off, general thoughts on Season 3. Well, when you have such a tremendous season, especially a season finale, such as Season 2 of Voltron Legendary Defender, it's going to be hard to top it. And I'm not sure completely if it's that I loved the Season 2 finale or Season 2 so much. That's why I felt a little disappointed in Season 3. Or the fact that they felt like they were very much rushing things. Anyone who knows the original series, we know that kind of the staples of the series is that Keith is the leader in the Black Lion, Pidge is in the Green Lion, Hunk's in the Yellow Lion, Princess Allura is in the Blue Lion, and then Lance is in the Red Lion. And the first 2 seasons we weren't there, so we knew we were going to get there eventually. We figured with the disappearance of Shiro, we were going to get there sometime this season. I felt like they got there a little too quick, I guess. But given the fact that there are only 7 episodes in this season, they had to rush things, but at the same time, that was kind of another disappointment for me. They only had 7 episodes. The reason I love TV over movies is that you have a lot more time to, spend with the characters and draw things out and not try to rush everything. But I felt like this whole season they were trying to rush everything, and it just didn't work for me. The finale, again, I'm not completely satisfied with the way they ended this season, but I'll get to that shortly, guys. So, starting off, episode 1 of Season 3. What was the name of it? It was called, I have it right here, Changing of the Guard. So it appears we've had at least a couple months before or after the events of the Season 2 finale. Shiro's been gone, and we start off with kind of Keith looking like he hasn't lost hope to find Shiro. Now, the other Paladins and Lions are helping the Eye of Gamora, kind of spread peace now that Zarkon's in the coma, so his reign probably isn't as tight in the galaxy, and the Blade of Gamora, excuse me, I said something different last time. The Blade of Gamora and the Paladins are trying to take advantage of this, I guess. So you see them trying to spread the peace, but if you also see people have heard the tales of Voltron, that he's back and that he's this great protector and all this, and they're wondering where. They know they need to bring Voltron back to keep the peace, but and kind of reveals that yes, there was that whole conversation with him and Shiro back. Anything happened to him, but Keith hasn't shown those leadership qualities. Keith didn't immediately was like, okay, I'm the leader, time to start making the good choices, act up mistakes, and his character is going to grow into hopefully that leader that we saw in the original this one. Another thing in this episode, we were introduced to Prince Lotan at the end of season 2 when they teased him. I totally had a geek out moment on that. I was waiting for him to come in. Princess Allura. So I'm curious if they're going to get to that or win with him in this. Not just in this episode, but in later episodes too. He's talking about, he's not like his father where he rules through fear. Follow him. So yes, he will conquer, of course. He will do, what he needs to, as he would like to explain it. But he doesn't want people to, he inspires their loyalty and gives them, something to do, which I totally things. And I think, some of the Galra are seeing that, but I think it's very refreshing after this, what I want to say, tyrant, to get someone like Lotor in there. In Star Wars, he was very calm most of the time. He thought stuff out. I like what his character is doing in the series so far. So yeah, overall, a great episode, kind of to check back in with the characters and see where they are. And at the end, they kind of realize they do have to move on from Shiro. All right, moving on to episode 2 is called The Red Paladin. Kind of interesting. It's kind of where this is where the new precedent, I guess, of the series is set, where you see the Paladins all of them try to take a shot at controlling the Black Lion. And it was kind of funny too, of course, because you saw Hunk doing his numerous thing, but also Pidge, where he said, "Can we adjust the seat?" Those little funny moments. You get a lot of drama. There's a lot of story, a lot of character moments, but these characters are fun characters to watch. And what helps make the series good to watch is, they do have those comedic moments inside all the drama that really makes you like all of them. So that was a little funny scene, seeing each of them trying to activate the Black Lion. And of course, Keith was the one who sat down and, automatically the lion responded to him, which we knew it was. I didn't know if it was going to be as quickly, but I was not surprised. Mainly because, again, back in season 2, that first episode, to save Shiro, he had to pilot the Black Lion too, and it was already familiar with Keith, so it seemed natural that he would already know him and go to him. I want to talk more about the lion connection a little later, but there's that. So then you had Lance, someone had to take over the Red Lion, or so we thought at least, and we saw Allura try to step in and, pilot the Red Lion and talk to it, and, knows that she wants to do more to help Voltron and to help the galaxy, but it doesn't respond to her in that sense. But Lotor, of course, is at this point in the episode attacking a village, and the lions are going to attack, and he's starting to figure out there's lions missing. Some of the lions haven't been seen in a while. The Black Lion's been missing for a while. He's getting the sense that there are problems with the Voltron force. And again, he's the type of character, he's thinking about it. He can figure out there's something not right. And again, it makes him such an interesting hero in that sense. So he goes out and he notices the lions are missing. Lance is trying to get into the Blue Lion and it won't let him in. Something has changed in the dynamic of the group, and we figure out what it was, where the Red Lion started calling to him, and then the Blue Lion accepted Allura. So in one episode, we have all 3 characters switching lions. I'm okay with Keith switching because we knew it was coming. We've already seen him pilot the Black Lion. We didn't think it was going to be a struggle in that instance. Allura, she tried to step into the Red Lion. It didn't work. I'm a little hesitant as far as Lance being accepted by the Red Lion. I wanted more of a scene there, not just like the lion called to him and he's automatically stepped in. I wanted something more there, I guess. But yeah, the line accepting the Paladins, I felt like should have been a bigger deal, more drawn out. But again, there should have been like a 2-episode arc rather than, 1 episode. And with having 7 episodes in this season, you had to, I feel, cram too much into it to do it. But with the season in general, I felt like it was almost like a half of a season. Obviously, time-wise, 13 versus 7 episodes it's going to be half of a season, really. But the season finale, which I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, it didn't feel like a season finale. In the season finale, we had the origin of Voltron and Zarkon and Hagar and all that. There was no cliffhanger. Yeah, they were trying to figure out. They figured out Lotor's plan, but there were no stakes. Like in the end of season 1, they all got lost and separated. At the end of season 2, Shiro was gone. They teased Lotor. Zarkon was in a coma. With this, there was no stakes at the end of this season, which made a little bit of a letdown. Also, at the end of this episode, we saw Allura change into her official Voltron of Paladin of Voltron gear, where she always kind of had like that semi uniform going on, the same as the guys. But this one, it felt like they really brought out the pink in it. And she says, of course, pink in her culture on Altea is to honor the fallen warriors. She wanted to honor the paladins and Shiro and all that. So, but you saw her officially go, and like I said, this is kind of where you cemented the lure of Voltron with, Keith's in the black line, Lance is in the red line, and the lure's got her, own line now. So this is where it all came together to be what most people know Voltron is as far as characters and lines and stuff like that. So we got all that going on there. At the very end, of course, they throw in that little bit of twist with Keith where he put a tracker on Lotor's ship and he's following him. And they're like, Keith, what are you doing? And he said, this is how I lead. So we know as an audience member, it's a mistake. It's not going to go well, of course, for them because they have no idea what Lotor is capable of. But again, they gave the character flaws. And I knew after last season with Keith, they were definitely setting him up to have, a big season this season. What with, Shiro talking about him leading and him finding out about his past last season. So I felt like with the disappearance of Shiro, I knew the whole second season was for Keith leading up to take over the Black Line and be the leader of the Voltron Paladins. So, but at the end of this episode, we saw him step off a little bit. We saw him make mistakes, and I love that they're showing that, he's not automatically just going to step in and know what to do. And that's one thing, I think this season did well, is Keith hasn't been the leader. He's looked to Shiro. He's been Shiro's right hand, so to speak. So him stepping into that role, it's going to be a challenge for him and for everyone else. And I liked how we see the progression of that very, very slowly. Okay, episode 3, The Hunted. This is very much a cat and mouse game between Lotor and the Paladins. Keith is rushing off to take out Lotor before he becomes a bigger threat to them. And everyone else just has to kind of follow his lead because he is the Black Lion. He is their leader now. But we find out, of course, throughout the course of the episode that the dynamic has changed. Everyone's switched to lions. Keith's the leader. Allura's in the mix now. They have to figure out how to work functionally as a unit, and it's mainly what this episode's all about. Allura's still not comfortable enough with her lion to go into battle. She really hasn't had any training, really, because she just stepped into the lion like 2 minutes ago. Then she's going off to fight Lotor, and Lotor taking advantage of the team being such in disarray, traps him, baits him, traps Allura, and almost gets her. It's a big game of cat and mouse, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Is this episode they had to learn how to be a team, and Keith again has to learn how to be a leader. Has to know that it's not just him going in; it's the other people following him. They're following his lead, and what he does could get them killed. And all that stuff going along this. A couple of tidbits I liked in the episode. The headlights, their eyes, of course, shined. And, when the lines activated, you saw them, blink or whatever. But this one, they were actually in the gas planet. And they used their eyes as headlights that lit up. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also, the little line, of course, with it was at the end when they were trying to come together as a unit. Keith was talking about how Shiro believed in us. We have to believe in ourselves. Nice little inspirational speech. Again, one thing with this episode is with Allura, she had to gain the experience of her lion. She had to learn what it meant to control her lion and how to get along with her lion, how to feel out her lion, and how to make it work best and have that symbiotic relationship with her lion. And she was able to activate that sonar cannon, so she seems to be doing pretty well. And of course, at the end of the episode, they were able to form Voltron to help escape. The cool line at the end where Lura's like, "Hunk, I'm a leg," and Hunk's like, "Pretty cool, right?" Again, another little funny moment that gives you those little character moments that, in the middle of the drama, makes you smile. So, but that was that episode. All right, next episode, episode 4, Hole in the Sky. Was a kind of a, an alternate reality episode. Every good sci-fi show has their own, alternate reality portal they go through, or they go into the future, and it gives them a reflection of their selves and how they're different, and how, the actions they could do or did do could lead to, disastrous consequences and all that other stuff. So they receive the distress call from the ship. They go to check it out, and they end up going through a black hole, another reality where Alteans have actually taken over the galaxy. They've stopped Zarkon, and they're imposing their own rule over everything. And we come to find out that they actually are doing that by taking away, I guess, the aggressive nature, they said, of the people, pretty much brainwashing them, which the Paladins have a little bit of an issue with that. And then, of course, they find that that reality has the comet that Zarkon and King, what's his name, Altor, Laura's dad, used to actually make Voltron. They found that reality's comet, so they're trying to get it out of there. And of course, the episode ends pretty badly because Lotor takes the comet in hopes of create a weapon that could actually defeat Voltron. So, episode was okay, not the best, but it still was, a natural progression from what episode 3 was, where the team came together at the end. They're working together. They can form Voltron, so we had to give them a new mission as well. One thing, of course, I think everyone's going to love is this version of Shiro in this alternate reality, aka Sven. So for those of you who don't know or don't remember, Sven in the original series was pilot of the Blue Lion. What happened was the 5 space explorers, Pidge, Hunk, Lance, Keith, and Sven, got to the original members of the Voltron Force. Hagar the Witch injured Sven, which caused Allura to take over the Blue Lion and was piloted Blue Lion for a long time. So when this new series, Legendary Defender, started, everyone assumed that, Shiro was, this series' version of Sven, and he was going to go up pretty quickly, and we're not going to get to know him. But he lasted 2 seasons and then some, so people have really grown fond of Shiro. I think a lot more fond than they have of Sven, and I think this was just pretty much a nod to the character, someone who knows the original series, a little fun little tidbit in that. So that was really fun to see in that. The other thing I also watched is the Bayards, and I can't tell you how badly I want to find like a Bayard for myself, whether buy like a craft one or something like that. It was so cool. But since they've switched lions, of course, they've switched Bayards. So like, Keith still dresses in red, but he's got the black Bayard because he needs that for the Black Lion secret weapon. So the black Bayard, but he still has a sword. Okay, Lance, who now has the red lion, has the red Bayard, which is Keith's, but Keith's was a sword, where Lance's is still a gun. So you get to see that, the Bayard is an extension of the person, not the lion. And then, of course, we see Princess Allura's Bayard, the blue one, which is a whip. So nice little change up there for them. Just a little tidbit they threw in there too. So I thought that was really cool. By the way, if anyone knows how I can get like a homemade Bayard, or anyone who's selling them or anything like that, hit me up. Let me know because I want one because it's awesome. All right, moving on. Episode 5. That's right. We're halfway through the season already. Called The Journey. To be honest, man, I didn't think we were going to see Shiro this entire season at all. Maybe at the very end of it, but we did. This entire episode was pretty much about Shiro and what happened to him after he vanished at the end of season 2. Now, I'm still quite curious to see how he got from the head of Voltron to vanishing and then ending up a prisoner of the Galra again. I want to know that story a little bit. But in any event, he ends up escaping, going to another planet, meeting some guys who set him on the right course. And I like how it takes place kind of in the past too, to where it was back when they first learned to form Voltron with Allure, back in episode 3. And he was back in that battle trying to catch up to them before they left. But he couldn't quite get there. And he goes out into space, and he's there for a while, about ready to die. And then the Black Lion senses him and goes around and goes and saves him. I thought that was very interesting, letting you know that Shiro still has that connection to the Black Lion, which we're going to see in the next episode is also questionable in that. The main thing, I think, the takeaway I got from this episode is that the Galra still has a plan for Shiro. They gave him that arm. He was a gladiator. He was experimented on. They gave him a really, arm that, was like a weapon pretty much. They got something invested in him, excuse me. And when he escaped, there were the guys saying Operation, I think it was Corn, something like that, has entered the next phase. So at this point, I'm thinking Shiro's going to unknowingly turn against them. They've got some brainwashing thing that's going to happen. Maybe they put it in his arm. I don't know, but something's going to happen later down the line where they're going to have to take down Shiro. Shiro's going to try to sabotage him. Something in that sense. I don't know, but I know the Galra is up to a bigger plan with Shiro, and I'm very curious as to what that is. Alright, next episode, episode 6, Tailing a Comet. So this is the one where the Paladins, they're back to adjusting life with Shiro. A couple episodes ago, they just adjusted on how to move on from Shiro to have him come back 2 episodes later. That's what I'm saying. The season just moved a little too fast. They needed to spread it out more. I mean, if this was a normal 13 episode season, they would figure everything out in episode 2 and 3, and it'd be episode 10 before Shiro would come back. But they didn't. They only had like 2 episodes in between from when they figured out how to be without him to when he entered back in their lives. So that just kind of bugs me. But in any event, the guys go on a mission. They try to collect the comet, and of course they run into Lotor's goons. Now, those guys, I'm still trying to figure out. I'm not good with their names. I'll go ahead and say it, but I like how he's got his own kind of ragtag group of renegades, and they're out doing their own thing. Where people are saying Lotor should be at the head of the Galra Empire. Instead, he's out chasing and doing other stuff. Which I totally understand, but I like his group, and I knew eventually his group was going to have to face off against the Paladins. I liked how that all went, and then you have the cat. The cat's, in the original series, was Hagar's cat, and you never saw the cat until this season. So we don't know if the cat. Well, we know in the next episode he does have a connection to Hagar, but we don't see like it hanging around Hagar. It's hanging around someone else. I'd really love to explore Lotor's gang more, get to know them a little better, and what they're all about. Because one of them, as we know, Keith knows. In an episode of season 2, he freed her, and then she left. So there's something going on there. Maybe I'm guessing she's not all evil, in my opinion. Maybe eventually she's gonna go on side Voltron. I don't know, but I don't think she's going to play a part. I just want more depth with her and the other minions of Lotor for that. So, again, so they take off, and again, this is another thing the episode did really well was Shiro's back. We just got changing to make everything comfortable again. If Shiro's back in the Black Lion, how does it go back to everything else? Lance actually goes up to Keith and asks that question where he's like, well, if she was back in the Black Lion, that means you can go back in the Red Lion. Allure's doing good with the Blue Lion. What leaves that me out? And it was interesting because Lance and Keith have always been at head with each other, at odds. So for him to go and talk to Keith about it was a big character moment between him and Keith, I believe, given how their relationship has progressed and how it's been throughout the rest of the series. But again, I liked it. You saw Shiro and Keith both kind of trying to call the shots, but they eventually Keith kind of backed down, knowing that Shiro is the more experienced leader and might know a little bit more than Keith does. The two big moments I thought in this episode, well, of course, the first one was that Shiro tried to step back in the Black Lion, and it didn't work. Now, just the episode 4, we realized there's still a connection between Shiro and the Black Lion because he sensed Shiro was in trouble. I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe the Black Lion senses that something is not right with Shiro. That's why he wouldn't let him pilot the Black Lion. Going back to my theory about how I think the Golra did something to him to where he's a possible threat to everyone. And maybe the Black Lion sensed that and be like, yeah, I'll save you, but I'm not going to let you be the head of Voltron. Maybe that's the question. I don't know. And then, of course, we had, at the end there, Keith as the Black Lion, as the head of Voltron. People are kind of working against him, I guess. But in the end, he did something good where he chose his own path or made his own decision. And it paid off. I mean, they didn't escape with a piece of the portal. So that part paid off. I really like how, again, it goes to Keith's progression as a leader, his decision-making process. He has to change the way he thought before because he's a leader now. But also, we're looking at the end where Shiro and Keith were talking. How's it going to work? I mean, I guess. Because Shiro can't control the Black Lion anymore. So is it kind of like Shiro is like their leader, but Keith is just their leader out in the field? I mean, that's what the sense I'm getting is that Shiro is still technically the leader, and Keith is just, the field leader when they're out in Voltron. I feel like it's going to shift. Again, I think that something's going to happen to Shiro where Keith is going to have to go against Shiro. He's going to have to fight him. Something's going to happen, and it's going to be Shiro versus them. And I think that's really when Keith is going to step up to be more leader-like, because he didn't get that long to where much time when he was the leader, and now Shiro's already back. Again, shorter season, less time for him to be a leader. It bugs me. It just bugs me. But in any event. Okay, moving on to the last episode of the season, guys. Okay, called The Legend Begins, and this whole episode is pretty much Koran telling the Paladins how Voltron got the start. How the original Paladins with Zarkon and King Altor were originally just a bunch of peacekeepers from all different planets, and then when the comet came, Altor and King Altor and Zarkon helped create the Lions and form Voltron, became a peacekeeper throughout the galaxy, and Zarkon, took the Black Lion as the head, whereas Altor take the Red Lion. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Maybe even giving us a sense to, Keith's progression or what might happen, kind of the similarities between him and Altor. I'm not sure, if that's predicting anything, how Zarkon turned against King Altor. So maybe Shiro might turn against Keith. I'm throwing it out of left field, guys. It's just me thinking in my head. Overall, I liked the episode. I did like the episode, but it was not a season finale episode. This is an episode that is a mid-season episode where once you got all this stuff that happened at the beginning and you're going to slow down your story a little bit, it's kind of like a break from what it is. And then you're supposed to have like the next half of the season, but instead it ended. So again, I wish they could have gotten 13 episodes. I feel like what they're going to do is, especially since we're getting more episodes, or season 4, in only a few months, they're going to make another 7 episodes for season 4. And then I feel like those 14 episodes are really one complete season, is what it is. That's just my way. I don't know how many episodes they're going to do. I'd like them to do 13, but I have a feeling that since it's so close, they're just going to do another 7 until till the second half of this season. And really, you can just say, okay, season 3, season 4 are really just one season. But again, I don't know what they're going to do. They may or may not do it. But the main thing we also got from this episode is what happened to, or the origins of Hagar and Zarkon. We find in this that it's the quintessence from the other world that corrupted them and pretty much made them evil. We find out kind of what they're all about, how Voltron fell apart, how Zarkon became evil, all that little stuff in there. Which again, I enjoyed the episode. It just wasn't a season finale episode, in my opinion. And then of course at the end we saw Hagar trying to, I don't want to say trying to wake up Zarkon. I don't think she was successful in that. But we do get the sense more that the Paladins kind of figured out what Lotor's plan is that, or they think it is that they're trying to tap into that other world to get more quintessence and become more powerful. And to do that, the last time Voltron was the only one who could do it. But now they have a weapon that is like Voltron, so they could use that to open the portal. That's just the sense of it. So, alright guys, well that is it. My Season 3 review of Voltron Legendary Defender. Now it's time for you guys to hit me back and let me know what you thought. Hit me up on the Facebook group or on Twitter. Of course, dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Any questions for me, anything you want me to talk about, let me know. I'll probably be back on Tuesday with an episode with Lisa. Not sure exactly what we're going to talk about, but we are going to talk about something. But let me know, what did you think of Voltron Season 3? Did you feel it was a little like I did? I mean, again, I thought it started out great. I thought they would just it should have been longer. They should have spread it out more, but I don't know. But we'll wait and see until Season 4, see what these guys have up their sleeves. So far, the series itself, I have no problem with. They're fine. We'll see how it goes in Season 4. If Season 4 doesn't live up to, get us back on track maybe for phenomenal season finales, I might start to question it a little bit, but for now I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, given the fact that we've got 2 other phenomenal seasons through and through. So that's it, guys. Until next time, may the Force be with us all.